It's World 2 here, and is anyone else annoyed that the Koopalings seem to be getting forgotten about? Like, I understand that they can innovate regarding bosses for the 2D platformer games, but that doesn't mean to get rid of the Koopalings entirely, right? I mean, the 2D fights could have some flair, they could be featured in an actual 3D Mario game. If neither of those happen, at least put them in the freaking spin-off games, like, they're not even in the new Mario Kart. I'm not getting a Switch 2, so it doesn't really matter, but why do they put a snowman, a cow, a bitty bud, and a cataquack in over the Koopalings? Seriously. Anyway, I was thinking about what video I'd want to make next, and I thought back to when I designed the Legion of Stationery for Paper Mario the Origami King as humans. I had a ton of fun with that video, and it performed well, at least by my standards, I guess. So I decided to give some love to the Koopalings, whom Nintendo seemed to be ignoring, and design them as humans. I'm only doing 4 out of the 7 though, since 7 characters is a bit too much for one video. I settled on only doing my favorite Koopaling, my brother's favorite Koopaling, and 2 of my friends' favorite Koopalings, so let's get into that. To start off, Lemmy is easily my favorite Koopaling. I just love how much of a silly little guy he is. I really want to show off in my design how much of a silly little guy he is, so I immediately thought of giving him some sort of jester/clown outfit. I see this in the footage, but I kept debating whether or not to give him a little jester hat. While I did think he was cute, I ended up deciding not to since his mohawk is a pretty recognizable trait. This first design was looking pretty rough, so I changed it up a bit and did a quick sketch on paper, which I ended up preferring. I kept really wanting to make sure it looked crazy, but still harmonious. I also kept changing what patterns his outfit had, but some of them are still there from the original. 2 of the patterns were really easy to decide on because his sleeves had circles to represent the bouncy balls he used to attack, and the stars are on the design are visible on those bouncy balls. I tried making the uneven top like mimic his tail, sort of, but I don't think that came across too well. Also, I drew the actual Koopa versions of the Koopalings on paper without a reference, so those ones look really iffy, but I did add them back to the drawing later on, this time with reference, so they look a lot less wonky. I also made sure to give him some cute little puffy sleeves, and that clown collar thing that I don't know what it's called, but I included that too. I gave him cute little jester shoes and striped pants that parallel his hair too. When it came to the pattern next to the stars, I was going to do snowflakes at first, since my introduction to the Koopalings was New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But then I remembered the worlds you fight the Koopalings in aren't really constant, so I changed it to diagonal stripes. For coloring, I kept it mostly yellow and orange. His hair has the same colors as his Koopa design, I just made the extra hair green like the top of his head. Something bland about the coloring, so I reused his hair colors in the shorts, and I'm really glad I did that. It just looks so much better. Also, I completely forgot that their shells had accent colors at the time of designing Lemmy. I just got lucky enough that I used a lot of yellow as well as orange. So, yeah, I probably mostly just used the yellow because, it's his other main color, but that's, for all the Koopalings. But thankfully, it all worked out. So, and some other cute design details I added were this little face pattern that I brought over from his actual design, his little clown nose, and his white clown makeup and gloves to match. I wanted to give him white gloves just to make it look more harmonious. And also I gave him the same pose as the little Lemmy I drew next to him. I think both of them turned out fairly cute, so I'm really glad about that. It really sucks that I'm not going to get to play this little guy in the new Mario Kart, but oh well, I wasn't even getting a Switch 2 anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Anyway, on to the next design. Next is my brother's favorite Koopaling, Ludwig? Ludwig? I don't know, people have been saying both. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to say Ludwig because that's how you pronounce Beethoven's name. So, anyway, going into designing Ludwig, all I knew was that I wanted to look formal, but also really smart and a bit of a jerk. My first design was okay, but it didn't really give the vibe I wanted. I drew the sketch of the design I was going for on paper, and I like this one a lot more, even if it was next to a horrendous doodle of his Koopa design. The thing that really got me like the vibe of him in the new one more was the evil little mustache. I don't know why. It's just a vibe-based thing. It just really fits in my opinion. I also thought my first draft I made of him was too skinny. Ludwig isn't as big as like Roy or Morton or Bowser, obviously. So that's a bit of body weight to him. I tried incorporating this, but I accidentally made him a little thinner than I wanted to. I made the drawing of the canonical design next to him really too thin. I think it's because I hid some of him behind his arm, but I accidentally drew his legs too close, so ended up making him look skinnier, but oh well, can't do anything about that. And now, back to the design. I gave him a fancy vest and coat, as well as a little gem in the center. Just like Lemmy's outfit, I tried to have Ludwig's coattails imitate, well, his tail. I thought it'd be fun to have the buttons on his pants look like piano keys, as in that to Ludwig van Beethoven. Side note, I just think it's really funny how no one mentions the name inspirations for the rest of the Koopalings. When it comes to Ludwig, everybody's like, yup, that's Beethoven! When it came to colors, I knew I wanted his coat to be blue, I just couldn't choose an exact shade I wanted. Also, I colored his gem, staff, eyes, and upper buttons colors that were different. The final design, I changed all of those to orange later on because I remembered the accent colors at that point. I also considered making his vest yellow, but I thought the green fit more. Easiest part of the design was probably his hair. He has really fun hair to draw. Honestly, all of the Koopalings that have hair have really fun hair to draw. Some other minor details include the buttons on his coat. I just thought they'd be neat. His pin/badge of honor with the Bowser logo, which took forever to draw. And the little pointy tooth he has in the actual design. That's about it. Next design. He was an interesting one. I'm basing this entire design off of his modern look, since that's the current canon. I prefer his modern design. It's the one I grew up with, etc. Like, I know he had an older look that looked a lot like Lemmy, but I didn't really put that into this design. By the time I got to drawing Iggy, I decided to start on paper first and then go on there. Ignore that monstrosity next to the first sketch. Oh my god, Iggy, what did I do to you? I was debating giving him swirly glasses because I thought it'd be cool, but I decided against this. All I knew when creating the first draft was that I wanted lots of parts to be inspired by chain chomps. He's had a chain chomp with him in a lot of the fights he had. I gave him a cape with little chain chomp designs, which was supposed to look like a cape based on outfits with like Coliseum themed stuff, as a reference to his fight in Paper Mario Color Splash, but I don't think that came across well at all. I also gave him a chain on his belt later on. For a lot of people, myself included, Iggy gives mad scientist energy, so I gave him a more formalish outfit, but not a lab coat due to that possibly clashing with the cape. His hair was fun, but really challenging to draw. Also, it was when coloring Iggy that I remembered the shell accent colors and went back to edit Ludwig's colors. Lemmy thankfully looked perfectly fine as is. I also kept Iggy's wonky colored eyes. I never realized before how weird his eyes were, but I can't unsee it. Like, what do you mean he has the white inside of the blue, and then he has his pupils? It's just weird. So, yeah. Iggy's still a cool looking guy, though. I have a plushie of him and a plushie of Lemmy. I'm considering getting the rest of the Koopaling plushies at some point, but not right now. Lastly, some minor details include his undershirt imitating his belly, the cuffs of his shirt imitating his bracelets, and his cape, which I later on realized somewhat imitated his shell. That was completely unintentional on my part, but I still think it looked cool. The one thing I don't like about this design was the colors looking too similar, but oh well. Now for the last Koopaling of the video. I knew Morton would be tough. Not just because he's a bigger guy and I don't really know how to draw that body type, but I genuinely had no idea what to do for him. I don't think I deviated from my first draft all that much. His undershirt has ripped sleeves, he has a vest, his hammers that he uses are in a case that are strapped to his back. The only thing I really changed from the first draft was giving him more hair. Easily my favorite part of this design is the Pokey-themed belt I gave him. He used a Pokey to attack in New Super Mario Bros. U, so I decided to incorporate that since I played the deluxe version on Switch and had a great time with that. Look, I was struggling with this one, okay? That being said, this challenge was fun regardless, and I'd love to humanize the other Koopalings if this gets enough traction. Heck, I'd throw in Bowser Jr. too. Yes, he's not a Koopaling, but it would still be fun. Plus, it'd make both parts have 4 characters each. Back to Morton though, I gave him some dark spots to imitate his star and put more of those across his body just for consistency's sake. And I also reused the color of the Pokebelt for his eyes. Overall, a simple but effective design. I made the Morton Koopa version next to him that look really off. Oh well. Tried my best, I guess. See, this is why I need the human designs. I just want a way to doodle them without them looking horrendous. I know I can practice, but still, I like drawing humans, so it works out. Anyway, that concludes this video. Here's all 4 of the designs together. Let me know if you'd want a part 2, and I'll see you guys in the next video.